Hey, what's up YouTube? Texas Triple Tapper here. Going to show you guys how to do a quick field strip and cleaning of the Sig Sauer p320. This is chambered in 9mm. This is compact size. I also have a threaded barrel here, so you can kind of see some of the supplies that I use here. These are not your typical or these won't be found in a typical cleaning kit, as these are what is known as trauma shears. I work in the emergency department and they happen to come in quite handy. Also, rather than buying the patches, I just use some gauze that I'll snag on occasion. Don't tell anybody. And these come in quite handy. So the first thing we're going to do is strip down the weapon. There's no magazine in it, as you can see, but we're still going to just double check, make sure that the barrel is clear. So what's really nice about the Sig P320 is, in contrast to, say, a Glock or some other weapons, you have got to pull the trigger prior to breaking it down. With the Sig, you do not. So I'm just going to rack it to the slide. There is a takedown lever here. I'm just going to rotate that forward like so. Gun's taken down. You didn't see me once pull the trigger. So what we have in here now is, pretty similar to what you'll find under most guns under the hood, so to speak. We got the that's a little double spring here. What I'll need to do in order to get this barrel out is actually take the threaded protector off, so that way I can get my barrel out. Also, you can take out this trigger assembly, this housing here, and what's really cool is that this is the modular, the pistol is modular, but this is the actual gun. This is the actual serialized part. So now I can drop this in something else. I actually have a full-size Sig 357 Sig that I just swap these out and interchange them. So now the gun is completely broken down. So what I like to do first, and there's no necessarily right way or wrong way to do this. I have not cleaned this in a while, so I'm just put a little bit of drops of the Bright Bore. It's Remington, and I'm just gonna run it through the bore a couple of times. And then I'll just kind of take a look and just make sure that I don't see any kind of, particles or anything out there. It looks pretty good. So I just, ran it through a couple times, as you saw. Now I'm going to attach this little piece, and in comes the gauze. So you'll see what I do with that here momentarily. Open it up. This is actually what they call, this would be for, like, if someone had, like a peg tube or something. This could go around stuff. That's neither here nor there. We can talk about that in another video. So I'm just going to finish cutting these lengthwise. Look at that, man, like a hot knife through butter. So I'm just going to take one of these patches and I'm just going to cut it this long ways again. And what I'm going to do is tear it apart. These are actually really sturdy, and I like them because they're kind of woven, and they don't really leave any particles behind, which is kind of nice. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of soak this patch in some of that same kind of bore cleaner, and I'm going to run it through just to kind of lubricate the barrel. You see how dirty that is? Just going to run it through here a little bit. The patch is pretty well covered in the cleaner. Whoops, one part just disintegrated on me there. But you get the idea. So now I'm just going to kind of put that off to the side and leave that bore bright in there in the barrel, just kind of letting it do a little bit of cleaning. Now I'm going to move on to something else. So I'm just going to put a couple of drops of oil on this little spring here, and then you can take, this thing looks like a double-sided toothbrush. It's actually kind of nice. You just kind of scrub it a little bit, just give it a good once over, and you'll see some of that, that carbon and junk kind of coming off there. So now what I'll do is I'll just kind of take one of these and just kind of go over it. You see, I'm getting off some of that junk, and I just kind of do this until, you know, I mean, it doesn't have to be sparkling clean, or as they said in Full Metal Jacket, so clean that the Virgin Mary herself would be proud to come in and take a dump. Sorry, I'm a movie buff, I know, it's kind of goofy, but you know, I mean, it's pretty well clean. You know, they do make some sonic or supersonic or whatever the hell you call them kind of deals that you can put these things in, and it's supposed to get them really, really clean. But I mean, this is pretty clean. I mean, it's cleaner than it was. Let's put it that way. And like I said, I take very meticulous care of my weapons. I'll fire a few hundred rounds through them and then clean them really, really well. So now I'm taking the slide and applying some of that same cleaning solution on here. And then again, I'm going to take my handy dandy little toothbrush and just kind of start giving it a good scrub. I didn't grab any, I don't think, this time, but I can tell you that Q-tips come in very handy for stuff like this when you're, you know, trying to get into really small, tight spaces. But, you know, I'm cleaning up where the firing pin goes and just this whole mechanism. And you can see there's, you know, stuff flying in and out. So just going to give this a quick once over. And what I'll do, this rag is kind of dirty, but I'll find some, you know, cleaner parts, and then I'll just kind of go in here and give it a good scrub out. You see, that was just from where I had my finger on that. And then I'll move over to a little bit cleaner part. I don't reuse these because a lot of these chemicals are not good for you, frankly. I was trying to think of a medical term, but they're just fucking bad for you. That's all I can think of. So, you know, you really want to, I usually have gloves, but I'm out. And some people say, oh, that might be kind of sissified, but I don't really give a shit. I don't want cancer or something else. So, you know, and then, I mean, already this is pretty clean. So now I'm just going to take one of these patches and just kind of get in here and, you know, kind of fine tune it. This would be like the white glove kind of part of it to show, hey, I've gotten off most of the gunk. You know. So, I mean, you know, it comes out, I mean, it's not, you know, certainly a lot cleaner than it was. And then I'll just kind of wipe off any of that oil that came onto the finish, and then I'll wipe it down again once I'm done. So now I've done that, Now we're going to move on to this little trigger assembly here. There's a lot of moving parts in this little area. So just a couple of dabs of oil, and again, back with the toothbrush. I mean, already I can see it coming off. You know, there's a spring here. You want to be careful about that, because that is actually what connects this to this little trigger arm, and that holds your trigger in place. I know that because this is a Apex Tactical flat trigger, and I removed that spring and then this whole mechanism to install it. It didn't take me very long at all, but I don't want to knock it loose inadvertently. So just giving this a quick once over, you know what I mean, and you can clean them, you know, however you want. I mean, I'm not quite so anal retentive that I clean them each and every time I shoot. A lot of times I really want to know, you know, what the weapon's threshold is, for lack of a better term, as to how it will perform, you know. Not that, you know, I put them to, out there, some of the other guys, you know, they'll call them torture tests. But I mean, I've had this weapon for, I don't know, 6 months now, and it's never jammed on me once. And I clean it about the same way every time I put, you know, a couple hundred rounds through it. Then I clean it pretty well, and it works. I mean, it's amazing what would happen, or what can happen if you take care of something. You know, it's like maintaining a car. You maintain it well, and it'll be there for you when you need it. So that's pretty good. We'll put that off to the side. I'm actually not going to really do anything with this polymer part, except maybe just, you know, take a piece in here and run it through and just make sure that, you know, nothing visible, because sometimes in this little magazine well right here you can get some dust and dirt and carbon and fly shit, who knows. So just kind of put that off, and then there's this little housing kind of mechanism that helps keep that inside that. So I'm just going to wipe this off. This gets pretty dirty sometimes. Just going to wipe it off real quick. There's plenty of solution on here. So that's done, that's done. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over kind of the outside of the pistol and wipe off any crap that may be on it. I'll put a drop or two of oil on there. Just kind of wipe it down, and it'll help to kind of coat the metal, and then get off any carbon too that's on the barrel itself. See, look how dirty that was. That's just from the outside of the barrel. Then I'm going to take this and go over these threads. Okay. One of the last things I'll do is I'm just going to put another couple of drops of oil right here on this feeding ramp, and I am going to try to scrape it off pretty well. I like to try to keep it nice and clean and keep it free of the carbon, because that's where the rounds, the ammo, is loaded up into it. Whenever the slide grabs it and takes it forward, I'll even do this little bore brush here. I don't get too crazy with it, but I just like to try to keep this feed ramp polished if I can. So that's pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is find a drier spot on here and just kind of give this thing a good, nice, clean wipe down here. And we're almost done. You know. Okay. So earlier I had some of those wet patches. So now what I'm going to do is open another package of these and grab a dry one. Cut these bad boys. Fold one in half. Oop. And we'll just thread it right through here. So this is a nice and dry patch. And just kind of run it through and make sure that it's coming out clean. And it's pretty well clean. You can see a little bit of oil spots. I'm going to grab one more patch that's sticking on there just to make sure. Yeah, it's coming out pretty clean. And then I'll give it a final look. Yeah, that's beautiful. All right, let's put her back together, shall we? So, first things first, we'll drop this trigger assembly back in here. Nothing I ever do wants to work on camera. There we go. Okay, now put this piece back. Okay, that is back. Now, drop the barrel in, like so, nice and seated. This goes in, it only goes in one way. If you try to put it in the other way, it just won't work. So it only goes in one way. So now you know it's properly seated. So now what you're going to do is just put the slide back on. What I'll do is I'll take it all the way back to the rear, engage the slide stop, flip it forward. That's how you clean a SIG P320. Now, one more last little tidbit. If you put it back in there and for some reason your trigger is gritty, so if you want to test fire it, and of course, you know, there's nothing in the magazine. I'm sorry, nothing in the chamber. I didn't even put the magazine in, but you can, you know, let it out, squeeze the trigger. Hear that click? That's that sear reset. So it's still got a perfect trigger. So yeah, that's how you clean a SIG P320. Till next time, Texas Tripper Tapper out.